Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to tell you a little bit more about the Pandemic Innovation Fund. This is OurCrowd's latest fund, which we announced earlier in this month. And we're looking at putting together a portfolio of companies to specifically address the concerns that have been raised by the pandemic. I'll start with a brief round of intros so you can get to meet the partners on the fund. Then we'll go into a little bit more detail on what it is we're looking at investing in, why we decided to do this, and in the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. As we go along, please feel free to type questions into the chat window and we'll address them at the end. So I'm David Sokolic, partner on the fund. I've been at OurCrowd for a little bit over 2.5 years. I came to OurCrowd following an 18-year operating career with various types of software companies, starting as a product manager and finishing up as CEO. And I also had 5 years of previous experience at a conventional VC fund called Battery Ventures before coming to OurCrowd, and have been investing here since the beginning of 2018.
So I'm Maury Blumenfeld. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm Maury Blumenfeld, and I've been working in startups for all of my life, but the first part of it was at General Electric, where we didn't call them startups. I worked on the CT business, then the MRI business, and a number of other kinds of new things. And I ended up at GE being the head of GE Medical here in Israel. And then after leaving GE, after a while, I joined OurCrowd and partnered there with Morris Laster to do some very interesting new real startups here in Israel and other places. Morris.
Hi, I'm Morris Laster, a physician by training, serial entrepreneur by practice. Founded 6 different companies that have gone public, and had the privilege to work with Maury over the past 6 years at OurCrowd, where we funded about 30 different companies in the medical technology space. Proud to report that about half of them found the use case in coronavirus. And really excited to be part of the Pandemic Innovation Fund. And with that, I'll turn it over to David to take you through the presentation.
Okay, so let me start out by explaining a little bit our motivation in putting this fund together. So really started, I would say, from two sources. First of all, as I'm sure many of you have been doing, we've been looking at what's been going on in the public markets. Quite amazing that despite all the disruption going on, the NASDAQ is at an all-time high. And if you peel that back and look at what's driving that, what you really see is that there are a few companies, some of which have outsized impact because of their market cap, that are really kind of driving the NASDAQ along. So Zoom is the canonical example of that. Clearly, they're benefiting greatly from the pandemic, and we're doing our bit to help that along today and every day. But there are others as well. So you see the large techs like Amazon and Microsoft that are benefiting. Some of the retailers are benefiting as well, whether it's Walmart or Costco, and medical companies like Johnson & Johnson that are producing medical products that help address the pandemic. That said, there's really only a handful of companies that are kind of pandemic pure plays on the public markets. What we're trying to provide with the Pandemic Fund is a private pandemic play. So we see lots of opportunities for startups to quickly address the needs society and the economy have because of the pandemic. And that's really the overarching theme for this fund. In terms of our strategy, we're looking at investing in these 4 quadrants roughly. So what you see on these slides are existing OurCrowd portfolio companies. This is kind of the second reason or factor in generating this idea. Like most VC funds, when the crisis started in late February, we circled the wagons and worked with our portfolio to prepare them for what was ahead. And we realized in the process of that we had a wealth of companies already in the portfolio that were doing things that were relevant to addressing this crisis and could benefit from it greatly. And what we're planning to do in the fund is invest in both late stage and early stage opportunities. So you see some of our existing companies that fill those buckets. as well as medical and non-medical. And the idea is to split the funds roughly 50-50 between medical and non-medical. From the existing portfolio, we'll be investing not in all the companies on this list, but select opportunities, the ones that we think are most compelling. And then we'll be doing a substantial number of new investments in seed and Series A companies that address the needs of the COVID crisis. In terms of the team, you've met the three of us already. The other important component of the team is the investment committee. We're the ones that are going to be sourcing and analyzing the deals, but the investment committee will be reviewing our decisions and kind of weighing in the decision-making process. The chair of the investment committee is OurCrowd's founder and CEO, John Medved. We'll also be joined by Alec Ellison, who is the chairman of OurCrowd's US subsidiary, and he joined OurCrowd following a distinguished 30-year career in investment banking focused on tech companies. And then the last member of the IC is Ellie Neer, who is a senior investment partner on the OurCrowd platform. We also have an advisory board we're putting together. The two members of that board we can announce today are Alan Kamer and Yossi Bogan, who are partners in another OurCrowd fund called Cure that's focused on digital health. They're kind of a sister fund to us, and we work closely with them on deal flow and ask for their opinion on things. But we're also adding some external members to the advisory board. We're in the process of finalizing some agreements there with some well-known people, and once those agreements are finalized, we'll have some more announcements to make about that. Let's dive in now a little bit to the specific strategies and theses that we put together around this fund. So we've divided it into three broad buckets. The first two are medical, so I will let Maury and Morris tell you a little bit more about those.
Okay, well, obviously the first thing you have to be able to do is to detect who has this disease or any disease. And once you've detected it, you need to be able to test that person to see how well the patients or how well the people that have it are doing, and know what to do, what you have to do with them, and how to be able to treat them. And now we also have, and we're talking about being able to choose vaccines and other kinds of anti-infectives. For example, you may have heard the talk by Sanitize, which is a wonderful anti-infective company that will prevent you from getting the various viral diseases. We also are looking at different kinds of protective equipment, all the way from masks and up. Those masks or those textiles are usually impregnated with something that'll keep them permanently antiviral, and they will be able to be used in hospitals. We're also looking at various ways to model what's going on so that we can predict what is happening in the future. All these things that we're doing will have two uses, a use right now and a dual use for when the coronavirus or this particular epidemic is over. Over to you, Morris.
Thanks, Maury. The second silo we've identified regarding treatment and healing. We're talking about treatments obviously directed at the coronavirus itself, but not only. There are many complications of the disease, whether it be ARDS, longer-term complications such as pulmonary fibrosis. Recently, there was an article in the New England Journal of Medicine suggesting that coronavirus can cause diabetes. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of medical complications from this disease, mental health issues, post-traumatic stress disorder. We're going to be looking at the fact that patients haven't been able to see their healthcare providers and are scared to go to the hospitals. So the issue of telehealth, telemedicine is going to become very, very big. Sensors, treatments of how you engage patient contact while minimizing healthcare provider contact with potentially infectious patients to maintain those healthcare providers healthy. Also going to be part of what we're looking at. So the breadth of which this pandemic is reaching into areas of medicine is going to be very wide, as are our investments. The third silo we've identified is what we would call the new normal. And for that, David will take you through that third silo.
Yeah, thanks, Morris. So I'm going to run through this briefly because we're getting short on time. A reminder, if you'd like to ask any questions, please type them into the chat window. So beyond the medical aspects of the crisis, obviously it's having a big effect on the economy and society at large. Overall, we think that COVID will have the effect of accelerating trends that kind of predated the crisis and are going to accelerate in importance because of it. So we've mapped out quite a number of those. You can read the details in our private placement memorandum, which you can download off of our website. About 8 or 9 pages there that go into it in detail. But at a high level, what we did is try to think through in different areas where the impact is going to be and what we should be looking to invest in. So, so we're looking at a few different areas. I'll highlight maybe one to give you a sense. Automation and investment in automation is something we think there'll be a renewed focus on as a result of this. Businesses experienced a lot of disruption and had to shut down because facilities were closed and workers were not able to come into work. We think that'll put a renewed focus on automation. So we're looking both at robotic process automation through software that can automate the work that's done by information workers. OurCrowd made an investment in a company called Cryon a few months ago that is a good example of something that we may want to do a follow-up on. We're also looking at robotics that can be deployed inside warehouses or inside factories. We think there'll be a renewed interest in that. We see impact in many other areas, whether it's the way companies organize themselves, the tools they work with, cybersecurity concerns, distance learning, logistics and transportation, and other walks of life. And again, there's a lot more detail in the PPM, and you can listen to the full webinar on the fund if you'd like to hear more. I'll sum up maybe just by talking about the terms for the fund and the capital deployment strategy. So we're looking at deploying 35 to 40% of the capital in follow-on opportunities. There's some rules around how we do that to assuage any concerns there may be about those funds being used to support weaker companies. The fund makes its own independent investment decisions, but the fact that we can draw on the wealth of follow-on opportunities in the OurCrowd portfolio is a big advantage for us. They're either investments that the three of us have made ourselves or we know well because our partners at OurCrowd did them. And then 60% or so will be investing in new companies in Series A or seed opportunities. The terms are fairly straightforward. It's a 10-year fund with 2 optional 1-year extensions, and then the fee structure is 20% carried interest on returns above 1x and a 2% management fee. Those are fairly standard terms for venture capital funds. Now I will take questions in the very brief time we have left. So there's a question about site diagnostics. Maury, do you want to tell us a little bit more about site diagnostics?
What is the question?
Just can you discuss site diagnostics?
Well, site diagnostics has been able to create a complete blood count test, which is able to sit, there it is, able to sit on a desk instead of being a very big thing. It can sit on the doctor's desk. The key thing here is that it can prevent having to take blood tests in a big, with a lot of other people around, and having those blood tests have to go to one special place and to another special place. You do them right where the doctor can take your pinprick and get the results in less than 10 minutes. And the results are extremely accurate. They've been tested for accuracy against all the big complete blood count systems. And so for that reason, it's been very, very successful.
Okay.
Why don't you tell them about the fact, in coronavirus, what they found was being able to use a point of care CBC testing so that you don't have to have the blood samples travel all over the hospital from infected patients. And there was being used in the coronavirus wards by themselves. And actually they've been building a portable lab to go to cancer patients during the lockdown so they can have their blood tests on oncology patients taken home. So this found really a tremendous amount of use in the current pandemic as well.
Yes.
Okay, I'm afraid we are fresh out of time that we had allocated for this session, but if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out through your IR representative. There's a lot more information on the site. And thanks for spending time with us today. We're happy to go into more detail if you'd like. And we look forward to you joining us in the fund.